Good afternoon. I am Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Harrison Haywood IV, and I am a proud member of the Renegade Battalion at Cass Technical High School. I serve alongside the Cadet Commander as the G3 or Operations Staff Officer for the Detroit Public Schools Community District. Today, I am joined by Cadet Second Lieutenant Promotable Denasia Whitley, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel JROTC Cadets, Cadet Staff Sergeant Raymond Gonzalez, and Cadet Colonel Serenity Crenshaw. We have asked members of the Michigan National Guard to join us in this virtual setting so that we may interview them and gain insight on their personal experiences in the military, their backgrounds, and the path they've taken to get to the positions that they are currently in. Today, our guest is Command Sergeant Major William Russell III. Welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thank you for having me, Cadet.
Before we begin, could you please give us a brief introduction about yourself and then just give us any information that you think would be beneficial for us to know about your background or your position?
Yeah, my name is Command Sergeant Major William Russell III. I am the Senior Enlisted Advisor for the Michigan National Guard. So meaning I am the top senior enlisted person for both Army and Air in Michigan. I started off in JROTC at Denby High School in Detroit, Michigan. So I'm a proud Detroiter. I've been doing this for almost 32 years now, and I still enjoy and love what I do. And number one thing for me is taking care of soldiers.
Thank you. So I'm going to start off by asking you a few questions that I have myself, and then each of the attending cadets will do the same. My first question for you is, if I was in your position, what salary could I expect approximately? You could just give me an estimation. And what other benefits do you receive from the military, or more specifically, the Michigan National Guard?
Well, in my position, you can expect for pay about 120 plus. So that's a good thing. I also still have privileges at the commissary out of Selfridge. I'm able to travel military space aid flights with the government being a member of the Michigan National Guard. You have access to all the sites in the state of Michigan. The good things about when civilian shops and stuff, you get military discounts, and there's a lot of good perks and stuff that go along with being a member wearing this uniform.
Thank you. My second question for you is, did you always have a mindset to rise to the top when you initially joined, or was that something that just kind of happened for you?
Well, when my first enlistment, I just planned on being in for 4 years and utilizing the educational benefits. But as I went along in my career, I got married, and then the children started coming along. And so you can't take a ready-made family home. So, and then once I decided that I was staying in, most definitely my goal was to rise to the top.
Thank you. My final question for you is, has anyone ever questioned your position, your authority, or command that you gave because of your ethnicity? And if so, could you share an experience where that might have happened? And if not, could you just share an experience where you or someone else may have experienced some type of racial tension within the Guard? Well,
I did. I guess back in 2006, I was a platoon sergeant at E7 on a deployment to Iraq in 06-07. I had the first sergeant come to me, which was the top enlisted for a company level. And he said, well, I'm moving these individuals out of your platoon and placing them in another platoon. And I asked him, first sergeant, this isn't a union job where they get to pick and choose where they want to go. But the underlying thing was a white soldier didn't want to be part of my platoon because I was a Black leader. And I had to stress to the first sergeant that, hey, that's not how this organization works. So after this further discussion with the first sergeant, he decided to lead the individual in the platoon. And after the platoon, that soldier said he wouldn't have had it any other way. So, and it's all about, perceptions that people have of you. But until they get to know you, see how you operate, that's the key thing in changing perception is.
Thank you. I will now be followed by Cadet Second Lieutenant Promotable Denasia Whitley.
Hello, Command Sergeant Major William Russell III.
How are you today, Second Lieutenant?
I'm good. How are you?
Excellent.
I am Cadet Second Lieutenant Promotable Denasia Whitley. I currently serve as the S5 at Renaissance High School. My first question is, how has being in the National Guard impacted or improved your personal life and connections with other people?
Well, one of the good things about being in any type of organization where you're able to display leadership, it teaches you. And along my career path, you know, we have different schools that they send us to further and build on those leadership traits. And on my civilian side of the house, it pays off beautifully because I work for the United States Postal Service. I'm in management with them in the maintenance department, and they look at when they see that you're in the military, they just automatically assume that you have those leadership qualities. But it's like anything else in life, you still have to prove yourself. So that's one of the good things.
Thank you. My second question is, what does a typical day in the National Guard look like?
Oh, it all depends on what position you hold. In my position, it's a lot of meetings, a lot of traveling. And my number one thing is getting out there, getting a heartbeat, because being the senior enlisted advisor, my job is to get out there and talk to the young enlisted member of the Army and the Air on the air side and see how it's going and is there any issues or problems that I can help facilitate or get to the bottom of. And when I was a first sergeant or brigade sergeant major, you know, I just dealt with a small number. Now being the senior enlisted leader, I deal with everybody. So it's meetings, travel, MS team calls, and now today my first Zoom call.
Thank you. And my third and final question is, what's your favorite part about the National Guard and why?
Teamwork. Because I didn't get to this position by myself. I've had great mentors along the way. One of my great mentors is your director of JROTC, Lieutenant Colonel Peters. We served together on a command team back when I was a younger sergeant major, and it's that teamwork that's still what keeps me going, and I enjoy giving back.
Thank you. That's all I have for you.
Thank you, Cadet Second Lieutenant Whitley. She will now be followed by Cadet Lieutenant Colonel JROTC.
Good afternoon, Sergeant Major.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant Colonel.
I am Cadet Lieutenant Colonel JROTC, and I currently serve as the Cadet Chief of Staff for the Cadet Corps Staff, as well as the Command Sergeant Major for the Renaissance School Battalion.
Oh, good job.
Thank you. I will now be asking you 3 questions, with my first question being, how has COVID-19 and the pandemic in general affected your duties as the Command Sergeant Major of the National Guard?
With COVID pandemic coming on, you know, the Michigan National Guard, you know, one of our primary missions is defend the homeland and protect the state. So with that being said, on the Michigan National Guard side, we have a big role. When it first came out, we were heavily involved in testing. Even we all over the state. We went up to the UP, testing prisoners, retirement homes, senior citizen homes. We established and set up testing sites, and now we're in the vaccination stage. We still have a big role in providing vaccines and support to our civilian counterparts, doing our part, doing our role in getting this pandemic under control. So it's been hectic, but it's been rewarding also.
Okay, thank you. And my next question is, if I were to join the National Guard, if I were to be a soldier under you, and I were to approach you with this issue I had dealing with racial tension or discrimination, how would you, as my leader or my boss, approach that situation?
It's first of all, the good thing that any leader is the listening part. First, I have to understand the situation. So I would want the whole background. I would want the whole detail. What we say in the military is the 5 W's: the who, what, where, when, why. Why do you feel that way? And listening. And if it's a problem that I could deal with right there, I'm going to give you the best advice from my experience. And also in my position, by talking to me, I'm able to affect change and go straight to sources to help you deal with those situations. And that's one of the things I've been tasked with since being in this position right here, setting up a more inclusive diversity program. So, and we're gonna see how that go. But my intentions is to make sure it never falls off the radar.
Okay, thank you. And for my last question, what was your life like before the military, and how has the military life changed your perspective on your life in general?
Oh my goodness, I was a young fellow on the east side of Detroit, and I guess I was running around with no purpose or direction until 1989 when I said, let me see what the Army is offering. So I went into a recruiter, and 3 days later, I was headed to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, and hadn't looked back yet. And I can truly say that was one of the best decisions that I ever made in my life. I met friends. I still keep in contact with people over 32 years ago, probably older than some of your parents. I've been in contact, and we FaceTime each other. We have group meetings, and we also had a reunion set up because of COVID last year. We wasn't able to do in a unit, but I've been able to travel the world and meet a lot of great people. And that's one of the things that, hey, you can never take away. So one of the best decisions I ever made before.
Thank you. And that's all the questions I have for you today.
Thank you, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Cossum. He will now be followed by Cadet Staff Sergeant Raymond Gonzalez.
Good afternoon, Command Sergeant Major.
Good afternoon, Staff Sergeant.
I'm Cadet Staff Sergeant Gonzalez, and I also attend Renaissance High School. My first question is, what are some pros and cons of being in the position you are in?
Oh, the pros and cons. The pros is I'm able to visit and see all the great men and women of the Michigan National Guard. So when I say Michigan National Guard, that includes Army and Air. Some of the cons is, I do a lot of traveling, so I don't get to spend as much time as with family that I used to, but it's a great trade-off.
Okay, thank you. My second question is, during your journey to the position you are in now, what was your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
Oh, balancing fatherhood. The time that the military can place upon you when you competing for these different positions and say, for instance, I used to live in East Point and I would have to travel every drill weekend to Jackson, Michigan to pursue my military career. And I might have, because I coach Little League football, baseball, basketball. So having a good support group is a key, but those are some of the biggest challenge, fatherhood and military, balancing both.
Okay, thank you. And my final question is, was there ever a moment where you thought you were not a fit for the military? If so, what helped you gain back your confidence? If not, what helped you maintain the confidence that you had?
I've never felt that I wasn't good enough or lacked the training. So that's a hard one for me to answer, but I've never lacked the confidence or thought it was too hard or anything. I've always been that kind of individual that dig in when the going get tough, the tough get going is what I was taught. And I've always put the best foot forward and did what I was supposed to. And a lot of times go above and beyond.
Thank you. And it was a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure meeting you too, Staff Sergeant.
Thank you, Cadet Sergeant Gonzalez, and he will now be followed by Cadet Colonel Serenity Crenshaw.
Good afternoon, Sergeant Major.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you today, Colonel?
I am wonderful. I am Cadet Colonel Serenity Crenshaw. I serve as the Corps Commander for the Detroit Public Schools JROTC Community District, and I am also the Battalion Commander at Cass Technical High School's Renegade Battalion. I have three questions.
Outstanding. Proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Keep up the great work.
I have 3 questions for you today. And my first one is, who or what was your biggest motivation in joining the military and why?
One of my biggest motivations was I wanted to travel. Being from a resident of Detroit, and the furthest I used to go was when we were younger, my mother would send us to South Carolina for the summer, or over to Canada, and I thought that was exciting. So, you know, after read and even watching TVs and movies, wanting to go to these and travel to these different places, that was one of my deciding factors. Is when I left Detroit, I want to see the world.
Thank you. My second question is, I recently enlisted in the National Guard this past year, and my next step is basic training. So was basic training as mentally and physically demanding as people think? And what would you say got you through it?
It is, and it can be, but it all depends on if you are willing to be part of a team. I stressed this earlier, teamwork is what makes the dream work in the military, so we say. So being part of that team and understanding you only as strong as your weakest link, meaning is if one person is failing part of your team, if you're not willing to bring that person up to the level you on, that's how you get through any journey in life, any challenges that you have in the military, is establishing, depending on that man or woman to your left or to your right.
Thank you. And my final question is, have you ever been in a combat zone? If not, have you ever been deployed, and how did that affect your family?
I have been in a combat zone 4 times. And just like with anything, anybody that care about you, they worry about you. And one of the good things back in 1991, I was during Desert Storm and got a little homesick because that was my first time ever away from Christmas. So the family got together and sent me a care package with Better Made potato chips and Faygo Pop. So that kind of got me through there. And yes, your family always worry about you. Back in 2006, I was a grown man with 3 kids, and my mother was like, "Bill, do you have to go?" And your family always gonna worry about you. But hey, that's one of the reasons that we do it, to provide and make sure our family's safe. So yes, I have.
Thank you so much. Those concludes my questions.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thank you, Cadet Colonel Crenshaw. And once again, on behalf of the Detroit Public Schools Community District and all of the battalions that make up the Cadet Corps, we thank you dearly for taking time out of your day to interview with us today. And before we conclude, could you give us some final remarks or any final comments that you would like to make?
Hey, Lieutenant Colonel, hey, I appreciate your team having me on here today. And one of the biggest compliments you can give any type of organization is, would you allow one of your children to serve? So this organization has been tremendous for me and my family. And I asked my son when he was using my GI Bill, when he was in school, just tri-semester ROTC, so he liked it. Then they gave him a 10,000 a year scholarship. Now I got a First Lieutenant William W. Russell IV running around here. So this organization, hey, I truly believe in it. And it's been great for me and my family, and it's instilled the discipline and the willpower. And it's just this organization, I never would have anything bad to say. Yeah, you have your good days and your bad days, but at the end of the day, we family, and the teamwork, like I can't stress enough, teamwork is a part of any great organization. And I'm proud of you guys because I was in your chair long time ago. I don't want to let you know what year it was, but I was a member of the JROTC program, and look at me now. So, hey, thank you guys for having me. And I appreciate your time and your effort and your commitment that you have as young individuals, the future of our organization or the future of our society. Hey, thank you once again.